are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody. Josh Neighbors here for the Locked On Big 12 podcast. Today, it is January 30th, 2022. On the show today, we break down the Big 12 SEC Challenge. The SEC wins 6 of the 10 games. We'll talk about Kansas getting destroyed by Kentucky at home, Baylor falling on the road against Alabama. A couple good wins, though. TCU picks up a nice win, and Texas Tech really gets the better of Mississippi State, and Texas wins in Rick Barnes' return to Texas. So we'll have all that coming up and more on the show. All right, everybody, let's get into it. Once again, Josh Neighbors here, Locked On Big 12 podcast. So no video for this one, just because a lot going on right now. I had to work this morning. I had to get all my notes together for all these games. It's just easier with 10 games and all these notes and whatnot, just to do it in audio form so I can take a pause between each game. Makes it a little bit easier just to collect my thoughts and move on to each one. But general thoughts from yesterday's Big 12 SEC Challenge. I thought the SEC just, in a lot of cases, they were a lot better. They out-executed in some big spots. I thought in the Kansas game, that was pretty clear from the word go. I thought in the Baylor game, that was pretty clear for large stretches. I think other instances too, Auburn was just better all the way around. They were coming off and they were mad and angry. I thought Arkansas executed better. Ole Miss executed better. Down the stretch, Florida was better. And that kind of decided, and almost, Texas too, to some extent, almost, they got out executed in the end of the game as well. But we really have to start with that Kansas game yesterday. Kentucky wins 80-62. And I thought this was a game where, okay, Kansas comes off that really close game against Texas Tech. It's a big win. They're at Allen Fieldhouse. They're at home against a Kentucky team that we didn't know if we'd be seeing Ty Washington or not. And they came in, just looked absolutely phenomenal. They were so sharp from the word go. You know Oscar Tshiebwe, what he's going to bring, just, from a rebounds perspective, but he had 17 points on the night. And they get Keon Brooks going. He ends up scoring for them and had a really actually efficient night was the big thing, but 27 points for him, including 9 from 10 from the line. Kellen Grady made his 3-point shots. And also they only turned the ball over 9 times as a team. Now, Kansas only turned it over 11 times, but still on the road in that environment, not getting rattled was the group for Kentucky. And the fact that Ty Washington was a pretty much a net negative on the night. I think he only hit 1 shot. It really struggled and clearly was not 100%. But the fact that that really didn't matter. They still shot 51% from the floor. They're 75% from the free throw line. And they were just on fire early and made sure Kansas could never get back in it. Their defense was phenomenal. Ochai Agbaji has a night to forget, 4 for 14, still got 13 points, but not great for him. The big story was in the paint. Dave McCormick just has an awful night. And, people have said, I think it's a pretty fair point, like this team will go as far as he can take them. 16 minutes last night, only 3 points, 1 rebound on the evening, and only gets up 2 shots. And for them, there was some Mitch Lightfoot that was involved for them in the paint. And between those two guys, like they need more production. This was an evening where you needed guys to help in the paint, boxing out against a team like Kentucky, against Oscar Tshiebwe, do as much as you can, and they didn't. The rebounding margin was plus 12 in favor of Kentucky, and they controlled the glass. 12 offensive boards on the evening too. That was something that just had to be addressed from the word go, and it was not. And Kentucky got whatever they wanted once again. I thought Kansas might have had a come to Jesus moment about, how good they are. A team like Texas Tech presses them. They need Ochai to save them. They need more from the other guys, but they still have not figured out the rotation. Like, is it going to be DeJuan Harris as your starting point guard? Are you going to let Dave McCormick stay out there and roll? What's Jalen Wilson? How does he look? That West Virginia game they had a couple weeks ago was excellent, especially on offense. And this team is nowhere near that right now. 41% is not the worst night in the world, but it's not good by many standards. 33% from 3. Once again, I've seen a lot worse. That's what Kentucky was last night too. But they just were not efficient, especially in that first half. And their defense was dreadful. Kentucky got anything they wanted. They were getting good quality shots. Their ball movement looked crisp, as I mentioned before, taking care of the basketball. So this game is gonna ask a lot of questions of KU moving on. They get Iowa State on the road next, number 4 Baylor at home next Saturday. Then they're at Texas, OU, Oklahoma State, at WVU, K-State. So they got to have a decent stretch coming up after that. But right now they're in the midst of a Texas Tech, Kentucky, at Iowa State, Baylor, at Texas run. And they got, you're going to lose some of those games, yes. But their last 3 games, if you look, guys, 4 of the last 5, to be honest, 4 of the last 5, Iowa State 62-61, at Oklahoma 67-64, Kansas State 78-75. They'd come back in that one too. Texas Tech 94-91. Ochai Agbaji rescues them and kind of, saves them. They're not playing great basketball. Now, they're talented enough and have good enough players to get some good results and are playing well together at times, but it's not consistent. And this is a Kentucky team that, Kentucky usually grows into themselves. They were the better club. Now, I will say last week I was so impressed with how Kentucky kept their wits about them for the most part against a really good Auburn team and stayed in that game and didn't get blown out. But this was one where they, unlike last week, they stepped in the throttle early and kept it there. Kansas, so many questions being asked of the Jayhawks moving forward. All right, the next thing that I talk about, Alabama picks up a big win against Baylor. They needed this one pretty badly. LJ Cryer was out, so that is notable, but I thought Alabama just getting up and down, like Baylor last year, the one thing that we knew is they could play any style of game. They could play slow, they could play fast, and they really do want to play fast because when you got those guys in the perimeter, they can, just kind of pull you out and make something happen or, get the ball moving in transition. Alabama did a great job yesterday of getting out and running in transition. They shot 59% from the floor, which is not characteristic against a team like Baylor. Javon Quinterly was very efficient last night. Jaden Shackelford added 19. Quinterly had 20. And they also got a really good contribution off the bench. They end up getting 33 points off their bench, despite the fact they only played 8 guys. So when you get that kind of evening, especially like I mentioned, from those bench guys, you're going to be in good shape. For Baylor, they were sloppy at the wrong times. They had 16 turnovers and Alabama had 15, so it's pretty even there. But it felt like in big moments, especially down the stretch when it was a 4-point game or 6-point game, they were not taking care of the basketball in a way that we normally see them do it. And once again, part of that stems from not having LJ Cryer, having him in a lot of situations to go to him. But there were moments where this team just looked helter-skelter. There was one where I think it was Akinjo next to Meyer after a rebound. He kind of said, just give me the ball. And Akinjo tries to push it up the court. It's taken away. And it was one of those where Meyer kind of shook his head afterwards, didn't get too angry with his teammate, but it was one of those where they just needed to calm down. And they kind of let the moment and the pace get to them. This was kind of the prove it win Alabama needed. They lost to an awful Georgia team earlier in the week. This kind of recovery where your stars play really well is huge. And I had a feeling this could have happened, but Baylor had been so good and prepared on the road that, I didn't really see that coming. And, this makes 3 of the last 4 for Alabama. They get Auburn and Kentucky next, so more prove it games, if you will, coming up. But kind of victory that really you can stake your claim as what kind of team you are. And this was the Alabama team that we thought we were going to see for most of the season. And they showed up yesterday, really pushed that pace on Baylor. We don't usually see that. And they were able to get out in transition. And they really did a good job, I thought, in the last 5 to 10 minutes of that game, whenever it got close, making sure they got good looks and extending their lead. So Baylor now forced to regroup. Don't think it's a bad loss, but you just get Cryer back, see what you can do. One good, positive thing for them was Jeremy Sochan yesterday. This is a guy that people think could be a first round pick type player. And at Baylor, even, a lot of those guys, we saw, last year with LJ Cryer, didn't get a lot of burn, but he's coming off the bench. He plays 32 minutes, goes 6 for 9 from the field, scores 17 points, did have 4 turnovers, but grabs 8 boards too. He is trying to find his way. You can tell it's not perfect right now, but he really has just been a factor that we're kind of waiting to see. This is last year's team. He doesn't get, once again, much burn, but this year's team, he might be a solution for them off the bench. It's just hit or miss. In a game against TCU, plays 8 minutes, then plays 20 against Kansas State, plays 32. And that's kind of, he's in a bench role right now where he's got to earn that time, right? You show you're an offensive playmaker and you're solid on the defensive end, and Scott Drew will let you go out there. That's a guy they're going to have to turn to when the offense is not doing as well later on in the season. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll discuss Rick Barnes' return to Texas. But first, a quick word from our sponsors. Today's show is brought to you by Get Upside. Go to Get Upside right now. You guys can download the app in most of the app stores. You guys go to Apple App Store, or you guys go to Google Play. You guys can download this app and use the promo code SCORE, SCORE, and that will help you save at least 25 cents per gallon at the pump. And when you use that promo code SCORE, you guys will get an extra 25 cents. That first time you fill up, you guys will get up to 50 cents off per gallon today. And we all know right now gas prices are high. So once again, go to Get Upside, download that app, use the promo code SCORE, SCORE, and get that discount even further at the pump today. All right, now let's move on to Texas and Tennessee. It was a weird game because, it felt like Texas had their foot on the gas pedal and then just absolutely collapsed in the back part of this game. I think it was like 15-1. They were outscored to end the game. That one was a free throw that ended up being the decider. This was the low-scoring, ugly game that we thought we would see. And, just talking about the atmosphere was awesome. You could tell, people were getting up for this game at Texas in a way they really hadn't before. And so that was awesome to see. It was awesome to see them get that win. Chris Beard needed this. This team needed this. And last night for them, Marcus Carr was not doing a lot of scoring last night, but he was out there for a large stretch of the game. Thought played pretty decent defense. And for them, shooting 54% from the floor, 44 from three. The big thing for them down the stretch, they could not make a free throw. They ended up 5 for 12 from the line, which is an awful performance for any team. That doesn't matter who you are. And really had to fight off Tennessee there towards the back end. But I'm a Rick Barnes guy. I like him. I picked against them because I felt like that, he has a propensity to lose big games. And this is not the best team he's ever had. I still think that team that I forget what year it was, the Grant Williams, Admiral Schofield, Jordan Bone, Kyle Alexander team, that was a really awesome collective. And they're not nearly that good. But this was more about Texas getting the big one they needed. And they're 13-1 at home. They're a 13-1 team at home, and they need to keep racking up wins like this to continue to prove that they're a really good basketball team, because I think they can be. But with Chris Beard groups, whenever they get a large group of guys together, a lot of times from different places, you hit the portal pretty hard. It's going to take some time for them to coalesce. And it feels like Chris Beard's teams, just because they have so many of those players, take some more time. This was one of those performances. And a returner was really the big factor. Courtney Ramey goes 6 for 10, 4 for 8 from three, 18 points on the night, has 3 assists, 3 rebounds. And like I said, the thing for them down the stretch was they had 18 turnovers in this game, and they were not taking care of the basketball, and they were not making their free throws. They have to clean that up, or else Big 12 teams will eat them alive in the end of games. But good result for them. They got to keep building on it. They have to keep building on this result. All right, let's go to the TCU game. Kind of bouncing around right now. TCU against LSU. So LSU ends up getting Xavier Pinson and Darius Days back. Was not sure whether those two were going to play. But in this game, they do. Darius Days had a nice 14-12. Thought he really toughed it out in this contest. TCU, though, they did a really good job of attacking. They win 77-68. That's your final there. So LSU has they have a really good defense, and it's a relatively complicated ball screen defense. Basically, if you are guarding the point guard and somebody comes and screens you, you are going to run to the corner and guard the guy who's in the corner. The guy who is in the corner is going to come up and help on your on your player who just came by, or help on the big guy. Their ball screen defense is, it's been effective all year long. I thought TCU did a good job attacking the backside and getting open looks. They were 5 for 18 from three, but the threes they did hit were really big, and they were momentum movers a lot of the time that either kind of reinforced a lead that was dwindling or punctuated a good run they were having. Their lead got up to 16, and I think it went all the way down to 1. But they were able to recover. They, good teams, that's what they're able to do, and able to go out there and finish this game off. Charles O'Bannon, 19 points, 3 of 4 from deep, 6 boards on the evening too. He was really important for their big three of Ball, Miles, and O'Bannon really were the guys who showed up for them last night. Ball goes 6 for 12, 14 points. You get Mike Miles with a 19.8 rebounds, 6 assist performance. Didn't make any threes, though, but was 7 for 9 the line. Did a really good job attacking there. And I think that's where this game ultimately for them was won. They were able to get good enough looks and make the clutch shots they needed to, and they played good enough defense, I thought, against what's been an ailing, kind of trying to recover LSU team, but took care of business in that game. It's an awesome win for Jamie Dixon's group. They are on the bubble pretty squarely, and they need wins like this to help them kind of reinforce their tournament resume. Right now, I mean, their non-conference is filled with games like Utah and Georgetown, their best 2 wins, and they're quite frankly not very good wins. In conference play, we've seen them pick up a couple nice ones. This year they did have the nice win against Kansas State, which, not great, but the win at Iowa State for them is really the one that sticks out at this point in time. They need more wins like the one they had against LSU if they want to keep this thing rolling and get themselves in good tournament position and off that bubble. All right, Auburn yesterday took care of business against Oklahoma. This was kind of a result that I expected pretty fully, just because you think about Auburn playing a really bad game against Missouri the other night. All right, what are they going to look like? What do you think is going to happen when they come back home and have a decent opponent like Oklahoma coming in there? How do you think they're going to play? They played about as well as I thought they were going to. They were having a lot of fun towards the end. I think Oklahoma did a good job keeping this thing a little bit closer at times than any right to be. I don't think this was an 18-point game in the end of things. It felt like it was a little bit closer at times, but Walker Kessler is an absolute stud. I was wondering when he transferred from Carolina, going to a place like Auburn as opposed to a place like Gonzaga. Right? I kind of love the Gonzaga fit for him. The problem was he might not play as much, with Chet Holmgren and Drew Timme. Can you have 3 guys that tall on the court at the same time? Not really in modern basketball. Well, I was thinking about Auburn, and I was thinking they love that pace. They love to get up and down, but this team actually is a little bit bigger. Jabari Smith, 6'10", Walker Kessler's over 7 feet tall, and he has flourished. He has been outstanding this season. 21 points, 9 of 11 shooting, 2 of 4 from 3, 9 rebounds, 4 blocks, just an all-around game. And Jabari Smith, he has 23 points of his own, but for him the shooting wasn't excellent. He gets to the line 10 times and makes 9 of them. Auburn was 22 of 26 from the free throw line, which kind of offset their poor night shooting from 3. But this was another tough shooting night for Oklahoma. I really still feel like they missed Davion Harmon. This is also, the tall guys are always tough matchups for dudes like Tanner Groves. And you didn't have a horrible night, but it's always a long night. And this is not a very big Oklahoma team right now. Also, they could use Alondas Williams, but it was kind of weird. Alondas Williams, for as good as he's been at Wake, it feels like he was not really much of a playmaker during his time at Oklahoma. But this is not Oklahoma's going to be near the bubble again, I think. They do have some quality victories, which are going to help them, bolster that tournament resume. Once we get closer to it, the UCF win, the Florida win, the Arkansas win, they beat Iowa State, they win at West Virginia. So despite the fact they lost 4 straight games, they have enough quality victories to kind of buoy their tournament resume at this point in time. But they got to make sure they can, try to get this thing to around 500 right now in tournament play. Big 12 play. They are 3-5. All right, we'll take one more break and then look at some other games that we missed this weekend in the Big 12 SEC Challenge. But first, a quick word from our sponsors. Today's show is brought to you by Built Bar. Go to Built.com today. It's Built.com. You guys can find their extensive lineup of Built Bars. They've got coconut almond, peanut butter brownie, raspberry, cookies and cream, salted caramel, mint brownie, and many more. They're always releasing new flavors. Most Built Bars have 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 grams of net carbs, 17 grams of protein, and that's compared to a candy bar, which usually has 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. The best thing about a Built Bar, too, is covered in chocolate, and you can have one before workout, you can have one after workout, and still feel, good to go. It's not filling, it's not, no sugar rush is going to be involved there either. Built Bar. Go there today, promo code LOCKED15, 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 and get 15% off today. Once again, promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off your first order at Built.com. All right, let's get through the rest of these games here. Iowa State 67, Missouri, my Missouri Tigers fall 67-50. This was a tale of two halves. Iowa State was spectacular in the second half of this game. Missouri was not. They were 58% from the floor. Iowa State was in the second half, 5 for 8 from three. Isaiah Brockington goes 8 for 8 from the free throw line, and they just did a good job down the stretch of stretching this game out. Even though they didn't play great from start to finish, beating a lesser opponent in the Missouri Tigers. Tough to say for me, but it is true. Texas Tech 76, Mississippi State 50. Mississippi State pushed Kentucky the other night. They did not push Texas Tech in this game at all. Tech was up 15 at the half. They had a balanced attack in this game. O'Banner goes for 13. Bryson Williams, goes for 10. Adonis Arms goes for 16. They shoot 62% from the floor, 5 of 13 from three, so didn't take too many threes, and 13 for 16 from the line. Checks out. That'll get it done a lot of nights. 16 turnovers is not great, but they forced 22. They forced Mississippi State to shoot sub 40%, 25% from the field, and they didn't foul them that much either. That's a good recipe for success, and they improved, the Red Raiders do, to 13-0 at home. That is one of the best home court advantages in all of college hoops. A few more games here, and we'll wrap this thing up. Arkansas 77, West Virginia 68. Arkansas wins their sixth straight game. West Virginia loses their fifth straight at this point. They just don't have a scoring punch. They really just don't have a scoring punch to go shot for shot, with teams like they have in the past, especially on the road. They just haven't been a very good road team, 1-4 this year. And we all know Bud Walton Arena is a tough place to go in and win. Arkansas's key to success here, they go to the free throw line 34 times. They make 28 of them. That's basketball. A lot of times is pretty simple. And they got to the line. They made their free throws. And then 4 of their starters in double figures. Bob Huggins' group needs to figure something out here pretty quickly against quality opponents. Kansas State loses 67-56 to Ole Miss. This one was a little upsetting. I thought Kansas State should be able to win this game. But they get roughed up. Really good game for Mark Smith. 20-16 for him. Actually, I think we might have him on the show this week, trying to work that out right now. Nigel Pack, 6 for 17, 6 for 13 from three, scores 18 points on a great night shooting, but still, semi-effective. But 30% from the floor, 31% from three, and 7 of 8 from the line. It's nice, but it's not enough free throws. It's not going to get it done, especially on the road, just scoring 56 points. The other defense was decent, but offense did not show up. They dropped 10-10. The kind of bubble push they were making seems to be over. Last game, Florida 81, Oklahoma State 72. I thought this was a game that Oklahoma State should have won because there was no Colin Castleton. They were up 13 at the half, but Florida outscores them by 22 to win this one, 81-72. Florida needed this one badly for their tournament hopes, and to win without Castleton, that's impressive. Tyree Appleby scores 21 points in this game, 5 of 10 from the field, 8 of 9 from the free throw line. And another story here, the Gators go to the free throw line 41 times. They make 33 of them. 33 of them. So once again, sometimes basketball is pretty simple math, and in this game, it was. Oklahoma State didn't shoot the ball too badly, but their defense just didn't show up in the game and towards the back end, and Florida was able to turn this one. There was that middle portion of the day that things just went completely sideways for the Big 12. I think it was that stretch where it was the Kansas State game, it was the Baylor game, and it was the Oklahoma State game. All 3 of them simultaneously, all 3 of them went the wrong way. All right, that will do it for today's show. Make sure you guys subscribe on YouTube, like the videos, leave comments as well. I know this is not a video version, but most of our shows are videos. Make sure you guys follow us on Twitter at LOBig12. You can follow me personally at JoshNeighbors_. Till next time, my friends, as always, stay safe.